Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, 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 money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar.
All right, we're back in the studio for another exciting episode of DubCast. As a quick reminder, twice a month we'll head to the studio to chop it up with some of the Twitter ecosystem's finest handicappers. Today is certainly no exception. We're privileged to have in studio the Prince of Parlays himself, the one, the only Uncle Fitzy, coming to us from the great state of Pennsylvania. Follow him on Twitter at FitzPicks, 10,000 plus followers strong. Fitz, first of all, welcome to DubCast, and second of all, say hello to the listeners at home. We're really excited to have you on.
Hi, well, first off, thanks for having me, fellas, and I'm happy to be a part of this thing. I know it's been a couple weeks in the making. We've missed each other, been playing phone tag a little bit here, but happy we got time to do this. It's almost like a destiny, perfect time right now with March Madness going on. So feels like it's a good time to cut it up with you guys.
Before we get into March Madness and your kind of approach to college hoops and working through a slate, I think all of us want to kind of get a peek behind the curtain into the origin story of Uncle Fitz. And this is kind of how we start all these interviews, but would love to understand kind of how you came to be as the Twitter handicapper that we all know and love as FitzPicks, and kind of what your story is since joining Twitter a few years ago.
Well, I started gambling small time back when I was in college, and it was just to get doing parlays, just to try to take small money and make big money off of it, and try to make as much money as possible, as fast as possible, and that was our goal, from the beginning. It was just really just to pay for food, pay for beer, pay for salads, stuff like that, and just continuing to just try to be,
I like how you do beer salads, by the way, Fitz.
right.
Balanced diet.
Well, yeah. As a football player, you have to hit all the categories. So, and that's what we did, and it worked. And we just, and once I started, hitting parlays, like it was a fun thing to do. And March Madness came around. That's really when we got started off. And then, fast forward, a bunch of years later, I had to stop, graduated, got married and stuff. And coached football for a while, coached high school football for a while. We won 4 state championships, so I had a pretty successful career. And then once the pandemic hit, I had to stop. But before that, when I had kids, became a stay-at-home dad, and I was just, still wanted to contribute to the family and everything like that. So, they were going to legalize gambling in Pennsylvania. And I figured to myself, like, all right, well, I'm going to take the money that I have saved up and just try to pay, my bills, the stuff that I need to pay for, and, like kind of supplement, what my wife does and everything like that. And, I started tracking my picks on Twitter, and one thing led to another. And everyone loves a parlay, so that's pretty much you guys got to win games, and that's pretty much where it all started up. I was a stay-at-home dad trying to get a side hustle, and that's where it all started on Twitter.
Yeah, Fitzy, I think your story really, I think it connects to a lot of people because, a lot of us are athletes, a lot of us are coaches. I think we've all, I played sports growing up and everything, but, becoming a capper is such like a different level to it because, you're looking at it in such an analytical view where, the casual bettor is just watching it, for enjoyment. But I think the one thing that, again, we love about you is those parlays. When we talk about these parlays, you're kind of legendary for your daily parlays, right? That's where we're coming from. So, take us through when the tradition began, when you started doing those daily parlays and how you kind of go through picking those parlays.
Well, what I like to try to do is I like to try to keep my guys entertained all throughout the entire day. So, a classic, college basketball slate starts at noon, and I'll try to get them, one straight pick, and I'll have like a 3 or 4 team parlay to go with that noon slate. So now we're entertained all the way through noon, and then that 3:30 games come around, and then I'll have some games for that. And I'll have a parlay, couple straight picks for those games, and then you got to have something for the night slate too, and then I do that too. So usually on the weekend, I'll have maybe a 3-team parlay, 2 4-team parlays, and then maybe 6 straight picks to accompany those guys, and keep the guys entertained all throughout the day. My goal is we want to hit parlays. If you want to do straight picks, I do those too, and I have plenty of guys who just do the straight picks and don't pay any attention to the parlays. But we want to hit parlays around these parts, and that's what my followers want to see. They want to see those stupid, funny ass gifs that I come up with the music and that dancing bobblehead of me with a wig on in college, getting shit faced with my boys, and that's that's what they want to see, and they want to see the parlays. I mean, yeah, it's nice going 3-1, plus 2 units, but you want to go. If you go 4-2 and hit a parlay, I mean, that looks a lot better. You know what I mean?
100%. And parlays, as you know, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. How do you kind of counsel your subscribers the way you set up your cards and your parlays? Like you just said, you're going to know going into a night slate if you're in a good spot to cash.
Right.
Do you ever counsel guys to say, hey, maybe hedge out on this one? What are kind of best practices you follow? Take the other side, cash out on your DraftKings app, or you just say, fucking let it ride. We've got these single bets. You can bet stuff as singles if you want. I'm just kind of curious, like philosophically, how you kind of advise your subscribers and how you personally go through this card that you set up very sequentially.
Right. So I know, first off, I mean, gambling it's supposed to be for entertainment, and I mean, I know it's not all fun and games. I mean, some people get themselves into some real shitty situations, and what I always tell my guys is if they need the money and we're in a situation where you got to win, like today, for example, Michigan money line, Providence money line, Memphis money line. In a parlay, never do money line parlays. I was like, all right, what's this come out to? Plus 400. And then I'm like, well, let's stick Iowa on, and just to get it to 5-1, just to get it to 5-1. Iowa's they're gonna be rich there. We'll get this one here, just to get 5-1 here. So first 5 minutes of that game, I'm like, fuck. Like, if anybody's asking me to hedge out right now, I'm telling them to hedge the fuck out of this one. Get out of this right now. But what I always tell the guys, cardinal rule is if you need the money, hedge out. But if you don't need the money, let that motherfucker ride.
How do you, first of all, do you have a story for like the beat that's ingrained in your memory in terms of last leg of a parlay? You thought it was done deal. I think Iowa today is probably fresh wounds, but you're a dude who like rides the wave, as you said.
Yeah, I'm in a good position.
And has been extremely profitable long term. But like, is there something that sticks out in your mind? Like, damn it, I wish I would have not put this one extra leg on the parlay because they ripped my heart out.
First, I'm very blessed to be in a situation that I'm in right now financially. Like, I'm in a position where I'll never have to hedge out, and I've been just blessed, beyond ways that I could ever imagine. And I'd like to think that that's my the universe and God's way of giving back to me for being an unselfish offensive lineman my entire life. So I like to think that I've been giving back to everything that I've been given out for my life. But for the I don't know. I mean, there's always so like in the NBA usually it will be a first half. Those are usually ones that I'll kick myself for. Like I'll have like 3 legs easy, and then it'll be something like the Bucks and the Kings. Like the first half, like totals, like it's like 123 or something like that. I'm like, these dudes ain't getting. There's no way any of these guys are getting 60 points. You look down, first quarter's 35-31. You're like, God damn it, like these guys, somebody's getting the 70 points this half. Like there's no shot. Then the other 3 cruising. Yeah, the three just like no, and then you're just like, well, I could have hit the 3-teamer. Could have easily hit the 3-teamer, and then you kick yourself about hitting the 3-teamer. So I've seen my bankroll decline a little bit since about Christmas. So I'm going to scale back a little bit, hit these 3-teamers. I know once baseball season starts and the NBA playoffs and everything coming up here through March Madness, these 3-teamers are going to take off. And had Rutgers last night, would have hit Rutgers last night, would have hit a 3-teamer last night with Rutgers. They go into 17 overtimes and have 45 opportunities to beat Notre Dame. But that's what I get. Bet against Notre Dame the day before St. Patrick's Day. What do I think?
I think it didn't even cash until St. Patrick's
You're probably
Day.
right. You're probably right. They're like, we got to get to midnight and fuck Fitz and all his goddamn followers.
Just buying time.
In a hedge where I've been like, I've never even hedged out. I never hedged out of a parlay before, so I wouldn't even be able to tell you. I wouldn't even be able to tell you about a hedge I regretted because I don't have one.
Love it. Love it.
Fitzy, I just kind of want to take a step back here and talk a little bit more about kind of your betting style, getting a little bit more of the nitty gritty stuff. I think what's fun about this show that Lewis and I have is that we get to talk to so many different cappers, and they all have so much different things, so many different ways they look at games. And so
I make my parlays
take us through your betting style, and you talk a lot about these 3-team parlays, what goes into making a 3-teamer versus the 4-teamer, and
any handicapper that is
take it from there.
Trying to figure out how to get started. You guys you got to try to set your own lines, or at least come up with a way to give yourself in some kind of vicinity, like a couple baskets, and you set your own lines. So you set your line. What I do is I'll set my own line, and then I'll go and I'll look at see what the books come out with, and if there's a huge discrepancy in one of the lines, I'm going to look into that. I'm going to say why is my line so different than their line. And then you get into the injury reports, and then while I'm there, I'll look at and see what the beat writers are saying about the last game, seeing what they're saying about what's going on in the week of practice, seeing what's going on that day leading up to the game. And every now and then you catch an interview, and then you get the temperature of what's going on in the locker room of those teams. And those are some of the things that a lot of guys don't do, but that's a little. I mean, that's not a bad way to it's not a bad little tip to kind of go back and kind of take a look at those things, and you get a lot of information from those guys because those guys are the team and those guys are around the team a ton. But so I'll take that. I'll look at the lines, and then I'm a big stats guy, so I'll take the lines that I make, and I'll try and find trends and stats to support those lines. So once I find trends and stats to support those lines, if I find an overwhelming amount of trends and stats to support those lines, that's when I'm like, all right, I got a 2-unit pick here. And then if that 2-unit pick passes the eye test, I'm a former offensive lineman, so it's got to pass the gut test. Got a big gut test. So that's a big test. So if they pass all of those, then we got ourselves a 2-unit pick. And that 2-unit pick is definitely going in a parlay. So then what I try to do is I try to find my next couple strongest plays, get those in there, and if they hopefully I can piece them together to the point where we put ourselves in a nice situation where they're either all going to cash at the exact same time, or they're going to cash throughout the day, and then we're going to be in a situation where at nighttime we got one play left, and we're just all sitting there riding on that one play. Yeah.
Fucking love it. And so first of all, super interesting. And we talk to cappers twice a month, and they all have got a different little approach, and just kind of walking through the day's slate and hearing your POV is super interesting. The other thing